Hey guys, Kill Stokes here. Welcome back to another episode of the Trading Coach Podcast. I appreciate you guys taking a few minutes out of your day multiple times a week to check out the show, and I'm glad that it's bringing you value. Also, big shout out to all of you guys that are leaving ratings and review. That is a massive help into allowing us to continue to grow the show. I know it takes a few minutes to do so, but each and every time I see one, I appreciate it greatly, so thank you. In today's episode, I'm going to share with you another one of our accountability sessions. If you guys are new to the podcast, these are sessions with our traders on the platform who are really going through the process of becoming consistently profitable traders. And I love these sessions for two reasons. One, it gives us a lot of feedback from a coaching perspective of things we are doing good, where people are getting stuck, what we need to work on for the future. In fact, one of these sessions is what really inspired the Foundation 2 course, which has been a big hit on the site. But it also reminds me, and Jason Greystone as well, of where we came from. We're in this unique situation where we're on the other side of the tunnel now. So we've seen success. We've been successful for a lot longer than we've struggled. And I think sometimes you kind of settle when you get on that side of things. My biggest fear in general in life and business and trading is settling, becoming comfortable, because I know that once you become comfortable, it's so much easier to slack. And, once you slack, well, that starts your that starts your way back to the bottom. So I live with this fear of settling. So hearing stories of traders reminds me of where I was at when I first got started, and kind of that hunger, that fire, that desire, that really that urgency and fear that I needed to get good and really grind away and put forth the right amount of effort to become successful. And what's interesting in this story, and I don't want to ruin it all for the trader, but he talks about a podcast he heard from my trading mentor where they were talking about how I can't imagine living off of this amount of money. And very similar to myself, this amount of money that these guys couldn't imagine living without or making less than was like a gold mine to me. When I first got out of college, I was working 3 odd jobs. And, this is when I was learning how to trade. I was making $35,000 a year. And for me, $35,000 a year, that was more money than I've ever seen in my life. Right? I couldn't spend $35,000 if I wanted to, right? And I was very excited. But you slowly realize as your life changes, as you, I guess, become an adult and you get more responsibilities and you have more bills and maybe you get married and have kids, that, man, you can't really operate on that much at all. And that's what really scared me in the trading. It was I had gotten comfortable making $35,000, and then I started thinking about the future. I was getting close to the time to really propose to my wife, and you guys, wedding rings. Ooh, right? I was looking at that, and I started doing the rest of the math because I'm pretty calculated about, hey, we want to move into a different house than the investment property that I'm in, kids. And I started doing the math. I'm like, what happened to that $35,000? Man, that was, I need $35,000 more dollars, and that's what kind of made me realize that, although this is good now, and although I am happy now in present time, if I'm stagnant, if I remain comfortable, if I remain satisfied at this level, I'm actually going to be moving backwards, because life is always moving forward. And if I'm staying in the same position, essentially I'm moving backwards, and I'm going to be behind the 8 ball. And that really made me push the jump to really explore what to do more, what to do differently, and kind of give up a comfortable position in hopes of something long-term that could be a lot better. And thankfully I was able to achieve that. So I love these stories because it brings me back to that. It makes me even more hungry. I'm inspired to get back to the charts and continue working on my craft. And I hope when you guys hear these interviews and this podcast in general, that you guys are inspired as well.
Yourself then.
Well, there's not a whole lot to say, man. I'm a father, a husband, a father, and I'm working hard. I'm a truck driver, so I drive daily local truck driving.
Where are you from?
I originally grew up in New Jersey. I'm living in Orlando. I've been here for more than half my life now, so I live in Orlando, Florida.
Nice.
And yeah, you'll have to pry to get more out of me to talk about myself. So, but that's really all. That really is my life, man. I go to work, and then I come home to the family, and that's pretty much it.
Cool. Okay. So why, how did you get into trading?
Yeah. So I used to listen, and I still do actually, to a podcast called the Jason Stapleton podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Back then he was more of a it was more of a politics economics
Politics.
program that my friend put me into, and so he used to talk about economics, and that used to gain my interest. And it was back around 2016. I had quit I was driving over the road, so I was away from home a lot, and I wanted to get local, and so I took a chance on this local job, and I quit my over the road job, and the local job fell through. So I had a choice, go back over the road and be away from my family, or try to figure out how to stay local. And so I did that, and I ended up, just taking, dead end jobs. I was driving Uber. I was, and eventually I found myself working 2 jobs. And it was like from like 9 o'clock in the morning to pretty much 9 o'clock in the morning to 2:30, and then I would change out real quick and then walk to the other job, which is about a little over a mile away, and then I worked from 3:30 to midnight, and then I do that Monday through Friday. And so I was killing myself and probably wasn't making a whole lot of money. And I'm listening to Jason Stapleton's program, and I remember, I'll never forget it. It was a moment. It was a really important moment for me. He said, I remember listening to Rush Limbaugh saying that he didn't know how somebody could live off of less than $250,000 a year. And he said, I used to think that was crazy, but now I understand that, except for me right now, my number's smaller. Like, I don't know how somebody could live off of $50,000 a year. And he asked Darren was on the show at the time. He said, hey, Darren, can you live off of 50,000? And without missing a beat, Darren was like, nope, And then he asked Charles, and Charles was there, and Charles was like, nope. And I was thinking, it hit me. I was like, man, like, these guys couldn't live off of less than 50. And I was like, and if I had $50,000 a year at the time, I would have thought I made it. And so it kind of like caused me to realize, hey, there's a whole lot more that I could be doing. And I'm working 15, 16-hour days and not seeing my family and stuff like that. So I began to start thinking about what could I do. And I really didn't like any of the options I was thinking of, like internet, jobs or internet sales or stuff like that. So I was like, Jason talks about this trading stuff every now and then on his show. So I literally started Googling Jason Stapleton trading. Still couldn't find nothing. Eventually I found a video, and then he mentioned something about Forex. And I'm like, okay, what's Forex? So I Googled that, and it says foreign exchange. And I'm like, oh, foreign exchange, I've heard of that. What's that? So then, basically, like, it's as green as blade of grass on the subject. And then eventually, once I started to see some videos and everything, like, all the stuff I started to see your videos and Akil's videos, I began to become really interested. And then everything kind of, once I realized I was into it, was when I watched a training video called Into the Gray.
Right. Jason and Darren and Akil, right?
Right, yeah. And when I watched that, it was the first time I seen those charts actually make sense.
Yeah.
And immediately I knew, it was like, this is it,
That was a great training. Great training.
Yeah, it was eye-opening for me. And so basically I took some breaks from trading because of some ignorance on what I needed to get started. I used to think I had to have a lot of money, and the training for Stapleton, for the Trading Power was quite expensive, and I couldn't afford it back then. So I kind of put it away, and then when I ended up having to go back over the road because we couldn't make ends meet anymore, and then kind of forgot about trading for a while. Came back to it in 2018. I was like, well, what's this tier 1 stuff? Like, all of a sudden you guys were your own company, and so I started following you, and then I seen the prices were much more affordable, but I wasn't there yet, so it was just, I'll hold off. But once the pandemic hit and I realized how vulnerable me and my family were, I knew I had to make a move to put myself in another level. And I'm making more money than I ever made now driving trucks. I got a great truck driving job now. But so, now it's just kind of like, I've got to hone in on this. And so I've kind of been locked in the last few months on tier 1 and going through the process.
Amazing. Wow. That's such a such a great story. So now you're into tier one. How are you finding it? The learning, the education, like, has it scared you off, or you're kind of inspired by it and excited to carry on?
Oh, it's been awesome. I've gone through the process very slowly, which was not easy for me. In fact, I think I tweeted you and Akil recently about the process, how, you know, how things just started to come together. But so the only thing that kind of would discourage me was every now and then I would see how far off I was, but then I would continue to press on and realize that I wasn't as far off as I thought I was. And then it would be kind of a process because I would keep on holding myself to the lesson. So the way I would do it was I would just say, okay, I watched this one video today, and then I had an allotted training time, and I would just stick to that. So I'm like, so I'm looking at V tops for like two hours. You know, I mean, V tops and V bottoms for like 2 hours, just trying to identify them. And it's like sometimes you can get like, oh, I got to move on, but I made a rule for myself that I would not move on. And having that kind of discipline, you know, was not easy for me. So but then once I began to, I finished the 2.0 just this past week. I finished the 2.0, and really doing all that, I started to do some analysis, looking at and I started to realize that I actually understand a whole lot more. Like once I allowed myself to bring it all together, I really see the work pay off. So it's been great. And as far as I haven't really got to interact with a lot of people. Usually when I get on, all the guys from the U.S. are done for the day, and all you guys out there in the U.K. are sleeping.
Yeah.
So, or maybe some of you guys are just waking up. I don't know. But sometimes I see you guys say good morning, and I'm like, what are you talking about good morning? But yeah, so I haven't really got the chance to interact with a whole lot of people. Every now and then I'll shoot a question or watch. But I intend to, like, once I get into the phase, I guess, where I back test and stuff, I'll have more opportunity to time on or whatnot. But you know, my time is 9 p.m. to about midnight, or until I start nodding off, whichever comes first.
That's a decent amount of time.
Yeah. So and so I've been making good progress, and like I said, I think this past week was really an eye opener for me. Like, wow, like I see all of the fruits of my labor. So
amazing, awesome. So, okay, so in terms of goals, then, although it's not great to set a specific goal because, you know, sometimes the goalposts move, but where would you like to see yourself in, you know, 2 months' time?
Okay, 2 months time. So I'm anticipating that I'll be through the mastery course probably through this month. So I'll probably be taking this month looking at those.
Yeah, and then practicing.
Practicing, kind of getting the feel for, you know, which one I feel most comfortable with, what could work with my time schedule, etc. And I don't know, maybe I'll just be beginning back testing something. What my big thing right now, I'm still trying to figure out what my trading philosophy is. I feel like I'm closer. I've been thinking about it ever since the session with Akil, and I have, like, my personality is very much contrarian to an extent, you know, but, you know, sometimes I felt more comfortable going with the trend, and so it's kind of weird, but I think I feel like Fibonacci's has really kind of, because I can tend to overthink things. And what the Fibonacci's do is it kind of helps me see the levels of structure that are important.
Yeah.
It gives me an option of what would be important, rather than me, oh, what is it, this level, is it this level? And so I feel like Fibonacci's is becoming kind of a central point to my understanding. When I look at the charts, what matters most to me is Fibonacci combined with structure. So I feel like that's starting to come together. So cool. Maybe in 8 weeks, I'm hoping I'll begin back testing. If not, I'll still be working on trying to, you know, figure out, like, what's going to be that first strategy that I begin to start working on. At least that's what I think right now.
Amazing. Well, look, I want you to keep in touch and, you know, keep sending me messages and letting me know where you're at and letting me know if you're struggling. But it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you and talking to you finally, because I know we've been messaging. It's been great to hear your story, man, and I just want to wish you the best. I think you're going to do really well. It seems like now's your time. Like, it's been burning since 2016, right? And now you're going for it. So
yeah, And it was a pleasure to speak to you too, man. I look forward to talk to you again.
Likewise, man. Have a great day and the rest of your weekend.
You too, sir.
Take care.